Planet Dolan. What movie lost $100 million and resulted in illegal payments to a foreign government? What action movie got a high-level executive fired and the studio sued for the use of its name? Here are 15 movies that were set up to be blockbuster hits ended up losing their studios hundreds of millions. I'm Danger Dolan, and today I will be your narrator.
Number 15.
The Alamo. In 2003, Disney had huge plans for an Oscar bait historical drama with Ron Howard as director and Russell Crowe as the lead. But after a budget cut, the movie's lead actor ended up being Billy Bob Thornton, and Ron Howard acted as only a producer, not the director. The movie still cost about $145 million to make. In its first weekend, The Alamo made about $9 million, second week it made less than half that, and in the third week it made less than half of that. The Alamo finished its box office run making $22 million, more than $120 million loss for Disney.
Number 14.
Once upon a time, putting Eddie Murphy in a movie was instant cash money. That time was the 90s. Unfortunately, The Adventures of Pluto Nash, that movie came out in 2002 on the downside of Murphy's lucrative career streak. The movie spent big on special effects and got Rosario Dawson and Randy Quaid to co-star. And then it went to theaters and lost over $145 million because it was awful.
Number 13.
The problems with Keanu Reeves' 47 Ronin didn't start when the movie itself flopped on Christmas Day 2013. Years of delays and reshoots put it deep in the hole way before it opened to less than $10 million in the first weekend. The movie actually ended up making about $150 million thanks to $113 million in overseas ticket sales. The studio admitted even before the movie release that it would likely never break even. It would have needed to earn about $500 million to earn the money back.
Number 12.
The special effects driven Speed Racer came out in 2008 as a remake of the 1960s anime series, and unlike a lot of movies on this list, critics and fans actually didn't completely hate it. But still, nobody turned out to see it, and the special effects budget was huge. Those two things were a recipe for a movie to lose over $114 million.
Number 11.
MGM almost managed to put together their own Pirates of the Caribbean with Cutthroat Island, but then Michael Douglas, the film's would-be star, dropped out, leaving behind a bad script and a huge budget. Adjusted for inflation and with only Gina Davis to carry the cast, the movie lost nearly $150 million at the box office.
Number 10.
SAHARA actually made over $100 million at the box office, which could have been a success, but the movie still lost over $100 million because it simply cost too much to make. There may have also been some illegal transactions between Paramount and the government of Morocco where the film was shot.
Number 9.
Before Ryan Reynolds found his superhero calling as Deadpool, he was unfortunately cast as the Green Lantern in a movie that nobody liked. Green Lantern was filmed on a budget of $200 million before marketing, and they spent a lot of money on marketing. It was estimated the movie would need to make over $500 million to turn a profit. Worldwide, it made $219 million over its entire run. For reference, not only is that less than they needed to break even, it was also less than Black Panther's opening weekend.
Number 8.
John Carter is another large-scale Disney project that flopped because of an overly long and messy production process. It was the first live-action film for Andrew Stanton, who had previously been involved with Toy Story and other Pixar animation studios. As you might imagine, that and a weak script resulted in a $200 million loss.
Number 7.
Stealth was a movie starring Jamie Foxx about an advanced airplane with AI capabilities that went rogue. It was as bad as it sounded. It even ran into a bunch of lawsuits, including one that claimed to have a copyright claim on the term stealth. Sony ended up marking the film down as a $50 million loss and caused Sony to fire their director of marketing for Columbia TriStar Pictures.
Number 6.
Town and Country should never have been a major flop because it was never supposed to be a huge budget film. Its original budget was estimated to be about $14 million, which wouldn't have been a disaster if it made no money at all. But a star-laden cast and a 3-year production and post-production cycle inflated that cost to $90 million. The movie was terrible on all fronts to the point that neither the studio nor the cast made any effort to market it. The film finished its theatrical run barely making $10 million at the box office.
Number 5.
Sometimes the modern reinvention of the fairy tale thing works out really well. Other times you get Jack the Giant Slayer. So this didn't really do much wrong. It received decent ratings from critics and moviegoers. It just didn't put butts in the seats. So they lost $140 million.
Number 4.
The R.I.P.D brought Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds together for a comic adaptation movie about two zombie police officers hunting down paranormal activity. The movie's budget topped $150 million and it made less than half that back at the box office. The money it made in the domestic box office run didn't even cover the marketing budget.
Number 3.
The Lone Ranger. At some point, people figured out that putting Johnny Depp in a movie was basically a license to let that movie print money. Except when it wasn't. And when it wasn't, it was The Lone Ranger. The movie ran over budget to the point where Disney reportedly wanted to cancel the project entirely. That may have been the wise choice, but instead they released it, critics trashed it, and it lost $200 million.
Number 2.
The 13th Warrior. It seemed like a good idea putting Antonio Banderas together with director of Die Hard for a historical action movie about Vikings. But it wasn't. On a budget of $160 million, the film made just over $60. Banderas ended up having to take Spy Kids movies for a few years.
Number 1.
Disney's motion capture animated epic Mars Needs Mums opened in 3,000 theaters in its opening week. They put over $150 million into producing it, and another $50 into marketing it. And in its opening weekend, it debuted all over the world and made $7 million. One of the worst openings of all time for any movie opening in that many theaters. The fact that the budget was massive only made the losses even worse, and the backlash resulted in the production studio being shut down. Plant Dolan is now a video game. Play it as Dolan, Melissa, and the rest of the PD crew collecting shinies to unlock skins and power-ups. Download from the Android or iOS App Store and start racing today for free. That is it for this countdown. Have a good one!